Chapter 380. Who are you talking to? Chapter 380. Who are you talking to? 9 spirit beasts, and one of them was even at the peak of the Yang Void realm. Truly worthy of Miss Ewer. Having killed so many spirit beasts in only half a day, Miss Ewer is definitely impressive. Among the young disciples in Lin family, Miss Ewer is definitely number 1. On the martial arts practice field, a large number of the Lin family disciples were speaking with admiration. The top experts of the Lin family were all smiling as they watched from the stands. Ewer made a good performance, Lin Xian said as he smiled faintly, while the first madam, who was beside him, revealed a large and proud smile. Lin Yu stood on the martial arts practice field with an arrogant expression on her face. She looked at Lin Lan, only to find that Lin Lan had not even glanced at her. Next, Lin Zong said. Lin Lan slowly stepped forward. Everyone turned to face her, but most of them were looking at her with disdain. In their eyes, even the weakest spirit beasts in the Blue Cloud Mountains were in the initial Yang Void realm. Lin Lan, who was only in the Profoundine Void realm, had no chance to hunt any of them. It would be her good luck to have even managed to kill a single spirit beast. Miss Lanner, show me the spirit beasts you killed. Lin Zong looked at Lin Lan with a smile, waiting to see her embarrassment. Lin Lan, who had an indifferent expression on her face, did not even spare a glance at those around her. With a wave of her hand, several dead spirit beasts immediately appeared on the ground of martial arts practice field. The huge dead spirit beasts that were piled up together formed a hill. Seeing the spirit beasts, Lin Zong, who was waiting to ridicule Lin Lan, was stunned. For a moment, everyone there was speechless. Altogether, Lin Lan had taken out 7 spirit beasts. It was not the number of the spirit beasts that made Lin Zong and other people speechless, but the aura released by these dead spirit beasts. Though dead, the beasts still gave off an extremely rich and violent aura. These 7 spirit beasts were all at the peak of the Yang Void realm. Everyone on the martial arts practice field was shocked. Impossible! Lin Yu was the first one to shout out. Even for her, it was her limit to kill 8 spirit beasts of the exceptional Yang Void realm, and one at the peak of the Yang Void realm, in only half a day. But Lin Lan killed 7 spirit beasts at the peak of the Yang Void realm. Although Lin Yu had killed 2 more spirit beasts than Lin Yan, the quality of the spirit beasts was inferior. How could Lin Lan manage to do that in only half a day? It was so doubtful and incredible. All the top experts in the stand began to stir. Jian Wushuang remained indifferent, but he still nodded slightly at the sight of the spirit beasts that Lin Lan had killed. 3 days ago, he had removed the witch poison in Lin Lan's body, and then given her 3 elixirs to restore her cultivation. Now Lin Lan had regained her original level of cultivation, which was the peak of the Yang Void realm. Lin Lan also had good comprehension of the world origin, and possessed many powerful sword skills. It was not difficult for her to kill 7 spirit beasts at the peak of the Yang Void realm in only half a day. Jian Wushuang was sure that Lin Lan did not use her full strength. Otherwise, she could have killed far more spirit beasts. The people on the martial arts practice field fell into a tumult. Looking at the dead spirit beasts, piled up in the form of a hill, Lin Zong suddenly turned gloomy and said, Miss Lanner, you should know the rules of the hunt. You can only hunt using your own strength, and you cannot rely on external treasures. You must have killed these 7 spirit beasts with an external treasure, so your results are invalid. Hearing these words, the audience on the martial arts practice field burst into an uproar. Most of the Lin family disciples looked at Lin Lan with disdain. How could Lin Lan use an external treasure during the hunt? External treasure? After all, she was once the top genius of the family, so it wouldn't be surprising. She must have some external treasures, such as concealed weapons or some other treasures that can kill spirit beasts at the peak of the Yang Void realm. Isn't Lin Lan a genius? How can she be so shameless? Their discussions about her were full of mockery and disdain. Lin Yu even sneered. Hearing that, Lin Lan's face turned serious. She turned to Lin Zong and said, Elder Lin Zong, without any evidence, you claim that I have used external treasures to kill these spirit beasts. Isn't that ridiculous? Ridiculous? How is it ridiculous? Lin Zong glanced at her scornfully and replied to her without any sign of respect. Before Lin Lan could refute him, Jian Wushuang spoke leisurely from the stand. Elder Lin Zong, you definitely have sharp eyes. The instant Lin Lan had taken out the spirit beasts, you could tell that she killed them with some external treasure. I wonder whether you can tell me what kind of treasure Lin Lan used. Jian Wushuang asked with a cold voice that reverberated throughout the martial arts practice field. Lin Zong frowned and looked at Jian Wushuang. Mr. Swordsman, is there a problem? Problem? Of course, Jian Wushuang sneered and said. So many people have shown you the spirit beasts they killed. Lin, you also took out 9 spirit beasts. Why didn't you suspect that any of them killed the spirit beasts with external treasures? Hearing that, Lin Zong's face fell. At this moment, the first madam, who was also in the stand, looked at Jian Wushuang and said coldly, Mr. Swordsman, please remember your identity. You're only a guest of our family. You'd better sit there and watch quietly. Don't try to interfere with our internal affairs. Is that so? Jian Wushuang glanced at the first madam and Lin Xian, who sat silently beside her. Then, with a pondering smile on his face, he said, You must be the first madam of the Lin family. I have heard that you're in charge of the Lin family. It seems that it's true. Mr. Swordsman, what is it that you are trying to say? Asked the first madam, with a streak of cold light flashing in her eyes. You told me to remember my identity, so I also have to remind you of something. Jian Wushuang sat there, tapping his fingers on the armchair. Then in a freezing voice he said, First madam, I will also remind you. Before you said that, you should have made sure to understand who you were talking to. The moment he finished speaking, a surge of killing intent, greater than anything they had ever seen before, began to radiate from him. His incredible killing intent soared into the sky and swept forward like a tsunami. Time and space seemed to be frozen for a moment, and the whole area became so deadly quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. It felt like the entire martial arts practice field was covered with a heavy frost. Chapter 381, He is Lin Lan's Master. Chapter 381, He is Lin Lan's Master. Silence. Deathly stillness. Disciples on the martial arts practice field, including those high-ranking experts in the stands, were all shocked with widened eyes. Such a powerful killing intent. The more Jian Wushuang comprehended slaughter origin, the more aggressive was his killing intent. Fully unleashing his killing intent, Jian Wushuang could even frighten experts in pinnacle of the Saint Realm, let alone those of the Lin family. Even Saint Realm experts of Lin family had never seen such a powerful killing intent. It was too powerful for them to fight. At the moment, Jian Wushuang's eyes turned to First Madam, and his cold voice drummed heavily in her heart. Traveling around the world, I say what I want, do what I want. Can't I express my thoughts in the Lin family? First Madam, I am here now, please repeat what you said just now. Jian Wushuang said in a forceful tone. He slowly spoke the words one by one, each one finished with more powerful killing intent, which terrified First Madam more and more. When he finished saying that, the killing intent in him had risen to the peak. First Madam felt like she was on the brink of breakdown. Eyes wide opened and her graceful face reddened. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. It was as if she was choked. Horror. Covering all of her. She suffered in the horror every second. However, Jian Wushuang was stern, cool, and unmoved. Lin family, a mid-sized family in Iron Saber territory, had 8 Saint Realm experts. However, the strongest hadn't reached pinnacle of the Saint Realm yet but was just in Stage 3 domain. Therefore, Jian Wushuang didn't take them to heart. Mr. Swordsman. Lin Xian said and looked at Jian Wushuang with fear. They thought Jian Wushuang was just an ordinary young Saint Realm expert. But he was not. He must be an old monster, definitely old, but retaining youthful looks in some way, roared Saint Realm experts of Lin family in their mind. They couldn't imagine how strong Jian Wushuang was. How could he be 20 years old? Mr. Swordsman, forgive us, it's just a misunderstanding. Lin Xian was modest and said respectfully. Jian Wushuang snorted, and then the explosive killing intent slowly withdrew. Feeling the killing intent vanishing, They let out a sigh of relief. However, First Madam's face was still red. She took a glance at Jian Wushuang in fear and dared not to say anything. Elder Lin Zong. Jian Wushuang looked at him and said coldly, "You said that my disciple killed those 7 spirit beasts with external treasure. Could you tell us what she used and how she killed the 7 beasts at peak of the Yang Void Realm in half a day? You'd better tell us every detail, otherwise, I promise you won't live to tomorrow." Jian Wushuang's words made Lin Zong's flesh creep. Thinking of the terrible killing intent, Lin Zong couldn't help breaking into a cold sweat and stammering badly. "Mr. Swordsman, please excuse Elder Lin Zong for having offended your disciple just now." Lin Xian was defending for Lin Zong. But suddenly he realized, disciple. People on the martial arts practice field were also surprised. Disciple? Did Swordsman say that she was his disciple? At the moment, Lin Lan bowed respectfully and said, "Master." Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Their conversation confirmed the relationship between them. Has Lin Lan made Swordsman her master? That's why Swordsman spoke out for her. Surely a master would. People on the martial arts practice field understood. "Lin Lan," Jian Wushuang called. Lin Lan turned. "Since they questioned your strength, prove yourself," Jian Wushuang said in a deep voice. "Yes." Lin Lan nodded. Then she turned and looked at Lin Yu, who was still stunned in amazement. "Oh, Lin Yu." Lin Lan shot a sharp and cold sight. Immediately a strong spiritual power burst out. It shocked all people at the spot. Peak of Yang Void Realm. How could that be? She had slipped back to profounding Void Realm 3 days ago. Could it be? One possibility came into their thought, which could explain it. That was, the witch poison in Lin Lan's body had been removed. How could that be? People in the stands were also in shock. They had tried many ways to remove the witch poison from Lin Lan by asking for help from experts and alchemists, even experts of Pinnacle of the Saint Realm. However, all failed. How could the witch poison be removed? Within 3 days, not only had the witch poison been removed, but her strength was fully restored. In a mysterious way, people in the stands, including Lin Xian and First Madam, turned to Jian Wushuang, who sat in a chair tapping his fingers on the chair with a light smile. They knew what Lin Lan was like 3 days ago. Today, however, Lin Lan regained her strength and called Swordsman master. They also saw the terrible killing intent Jian Wushuang released just now. All these had proved it. It was him who removed the witch poison in Lin Lan's body and brought her strength back within 3 days. All this was due to Swordsman. Chapter 382, I don't want to marry him. Chapter 382. I don't want to marry him. Peak of Yang Void Realm. Lin Yu, who had always been holding her head high in front of Lin Lan, was stunned after seeing Lin Lan regain her full spiritual power. Ignoring Lin Yu's look of shock, Lin Lan went directly to Lin Yu and slapped her face fiercely. Lin Yu instinctively wanted to dodge, but the slap, containing world origin, was too fast and overwhelming. Thwack! A heavy slap turned Lin Yu's face red. Before Lin Yu reacted, Lin Lan slapped again. Thwack! Thwack! Another 2 slaps fell on her right cheek. 3 slaps in total. After that, Lin Yu's face turned red and swollen. Blood streamed out of her mouth and her blank eyes were widely opened. All were silent. After she finished her slaps, Lin Lan turned and left without a word. What a domineering demeanor. Lin family's disciples on the martial arts practice field gazed at her figure in shock. They knew the peerless genius they admired 2 years ago had returned. Lin Lan walked to the stands and raised her head, looking at those in the stands. Taking a deep breath, Lin Lan said slowly, "Someone suggested or even decided to marry me to Luo Hai. I want to say, I refuse." A simple but clear answer made all of them awestruck. Lin Lan herself let out a long sigh of relief. When she knew her family had decided to marry her to Luo Hai, she felt desperate. Because she was weak and unimportant in the Lin family, no one would listen to her. But now things had changed. She had regained her strength. The peerless genius had returned. Most importantly, she had an unfathomable and powerful master. She was more confident because of her master's support. In the stands, those high-ranking experts of Lin family were irritated because Lin Lan had defied their decision. But they dared not say anything. After all, Lin Lan's master, Swordsman, was still there. Jian Wushuang, the person they feared, stood up slowly and looked at Lin Lan with a smile. He walked slowly down the stands and went to the courtyard where he lived. Lin Lan followed him. Soon they walked out of their sight. As soon as they left, the martial arts practice field was in an uproar. Oh! In a secret chamber of Lin family's mansion. Kill her, I will kill her. Mother, kill the bitch, kill her. Lin Yu, whose face was still red and swollen, roared crazily. Being slapped 3 slaps in front of so many disciples and experts of Lin family, how could she not be furious? Shut up. First Madam yelled at her. I didn't expect she would gain the upper hand again. If I knew this, I would have killed her rather than poisoned her. First Madam's face was cold and venomous. Yes, it was First Madam who poisoned Lin Lan 2 years ago. But she didn't kill her out of some considerations. Because at that time, Lin Lan had a high status in Lin family, and they all treated her as a treasure. Even top experts in Iron Saber territory said they wanted to take Lin Lan as their personal disciple. Besides, she had little control of the Lin family at that time and dared not kill her. That's why she waited and took action to kill her only after Lin Lan had lost her status in the Lin family. She didn't expect Jian Wushuang to save her. Lin Zong, what do you think about Swordsman? First Madam looked at Lin Zong. Lin Zong stood and frowned. After a while, he said seriously, Madam, Swordsman is strong. Though he has not displayed it yet, his terrible killing intent proved that he is very strong. Besides, he removed the witch poison, which so many experts, including experts at Pinnacle of the Saint Realm, can't. All these prove that he is powerful. At least no one in our family can deal with him. Lin Zong knew this. Lin family was just a mid-sized family in Iron Saber territory. The strongest expert in the Lin family was at Stage 3 domain. Anyone of Pinnacle of the Saint Realm could do anything he wanted to the Lin family. Lin Zong estimated that Jian Wushuang was at least at Pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Bastard, who is he? First Madam said with insidious and cold eyes. Madam, honestly, we, even the whole Lin family, should not provoke Swordsman. Lin Zong said in a deep voice. First Madam's face fell, but she smiled coldly the next second. Sure, Swordsman is so strong that we cannot afford to provoke him. But someone else can. Huh. Lin Zong turned to First Madam. Lin Lan said that she refused to marry Luo Hai in front of all of us, didn't she? The 2 families had made a deal long ago. If Lin Lan refused it, do you think the playboy Luo Hai will leave the matter at that? A sneaky smile rose on First Madam's face. Madam, you mean? Lin Zong frowned and looked at her. Send a message to Luo Hai immediately, but keep in mind, to Luo Hai rather than the Luo family. First Madam ordered. Lin Zong understood that and nodded heavily. Snaky coldness flashed in First Madam's eyes and a cold voice sounded. Swordsman, we can't provoke you, but the Luo family can. Chapter 383, Visiting the Luo Family. Chapter 383. Visiting the Luo Family. Inside the courtyard, Jian Wushuang sat at a stone table, looking at Lin Lan, who was practicing sword arts. Each move she brandished moved the power of heaven and earth and contained world origin. Have a break, Jian Wushuang suddenly said. Master. Lin Lan stopped and looked over at Jian Wushuang. You're quite good at sword principle but weak at offense, Jian Wushuang said. I know a sword skill of world origin, not recorded in an origin manual. I will demonstrate this now. Look carefully. Jian Wushuang showed it right away. What he displayed was a superior second-grade sword technique, called Sword World. Jian Wushuang had been staying in the Sword Tower of Ancestors' Land for a whole year and meditated on a lot of sword skills, including some sword skills of world origin, among which Sword World was at the highest grade. In a moment, Jian Wushuang finished the first 3 movements of Sword World. He explained each move while performing, so as to help Jian Lan understand it more deeply. That's it. Practice and study by yourself and come to me if you have any questions, Jian Wushuang said. Yes. Lin Lan nodded. While at this moment they heard some footsteps. Lei Yun hurriedly ran in. Miss Lan or Mr. Swordsman? Lei Yun went in the courtyard and bowed, said, Luo Hai of Luo family comes. What? Lin Lan was surprised. Jian Wushuang also frowned slightly. Lots of footsteps and other voices came from outside. Master Luo Hai, it's a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? She has refused in public. What do you want to explain? Master Luo Hai, it's not what you think. We didn't mean to. I don't care. I want to know how dare she refuses the engagement. The voices were getting louder. Soon many people rushed into the courtyard. First came an unruly, insidious and supercilious man, followed by a purple-clothed elder who had already reached the Saint realm. Lin families including Lin Xian and First Madam also walked in and then stood aside. Lin Xian looked embarrassed, while First Madam's face was cold with cruelty in her eyes. As soon as he rushed into the courtyard, Luo Hai was surprised to find that Lin Lan was beautiful. I heard you were a beauty. You really are, and you are also a genius. I like this. Luo Hai said with an evil smile. What does Master Luo Hai come for? Lin Lan asked coldly. Of course I came for our engagement, Luo Hai said evilly. Sorry, I have never promised to marry you, said Lin Lan. I don't care. No one can refuse me. Since your family has promised, you have to marry me. Luo Hai's face fell and said, Elder Wu, take the girl away immediately. I'm interested to see who dares to stop me. Yes, nodded the purple-clothed elder beside Luo Hai. Master Luo Hai, you can't. People of the Lin family were shocked. But before they stopped him, the purple-clothed elder had already taken action. Young lady, you'd better go with us. The purple-clothed smiled coldly and said. Then he went to Lin Lan in a blink, reached out his shriveled hand and tried to catch Lin Lan. However, at the same time Jian Wushuang moved too. Before the purple-clothed elder reached Lin Lan, a black-robed young man, wearing a long sword on his back, stood in the way. The cold young man waved his sleeve and said, Scram! He shouted with a huge power blasting out of his sleeve. What? Feeling a huge impact force coming to him, the purple-clothed elder was attacked. Immediately he spat out blood and landed heavily on the wall. The wall was destroyed. All experts of Lin family felt a sudden throb in their heart after seeing that. Such an easy wave of a sleeve, seriously injuring a Saint Realm expert at third stage domain. How terrifying was his strength! After beating back the purple-clothed elder, Jian Wushuang shot a cold sight and flashed before Luo Hai. Boom! An incredibly strong killing intent surrounded Luo Hai. His brain was in a buzz, eyes opened widely and standing still in shock, he wet his pants. A good for nothing. Jian Wushuang looked down at Luo Hai with disdain. Then Luo Hai heard a deep voice. We did deal with the engagement in an improper way. Tomorrow, I will take my disciple to your mansion and apologize to Luo family. Now you can go. After saying that, the killing intent on Jian Wushuang vanished and Luo Hai came to himself. Go, let's go. Luo Hai had already been scared silly. He took the purple-clothed elder and staggered out of the Lin family at once. Witnessing what had happened, people of the Lin family couldn't help marveling at him. Master of Lin family, Lin Xian apologized, Mr. Swordsman. It's our fault to be thoughtless about honor marriage. Sorry to bring you trouble. Trouble? No. I'm afraid we fell prey to a plot. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. Fall prey to a plot? Lin Xian was confused. The news spread so quickly. It took Luo Hai only half a day to receive the news and arrived here. Jian Wushuang sneered and shot a cold look at First Madam. First Madam was alarmed. Before she opened her mouth to explain for herself, a wind blew over. Jian Wushuang went to her and squeezed her neck, pulling her up. Mr. Swordsman. All of them were startled. Jian Wushuang snorted. He threw First Madam on a stone table, which smashed the table at once. Honor to kill her or not depends on you. Looking at First Madam lying on her deathbed, Lin Lan's eyes flashed coldness but more hesitation. She squatted, and after a wave of her hand, First Madam's dantian was shattered. You have persecuted me many times and made me suffer, thinking it was better to die than to live. Today, I will pay you back by destroying your dantian. Jian Wushuang didn't stop her. Tomorrow, I will take you to Luo family. Chapter 384 Breaking Off the Engagement. Chapter 384 Breaking Off the Engagement. Luo family, one of the 6 families in Iron Saber territory. Being a large family, Luo family possessed a much richer base and greater background compared to the Lin family. It had dozens of Saint Realm experts, even 3 in pinnacle of the Saint Realm. 2 figures were approaching the Luo family's mansion, a young man and a young beauty. Each wore a long sword on his and her back. Judging from their appearance, they were about the same age. People thought they were brother and sister at first sight, but never had imagined that they were master and disciple. Master Luo family is one of the 6 families in Iron Saber territory. If we go inside and break off my engagement like this, it will bring shame to them. Lin Lan frowned slightly. I thought you didn't care. Jian Wushuang blinked his eyes. He shook his head, smiled and said, You have refused it in the presence of so many people, what's the difference? Lin Lan lowered her head. Let's go inside first. Soon Jian Wushuang and Lin Lan arrived at the void in front of the Luo family's mansion. Swordsman coming to visit. Jian Wushuang's voice spread. Immediately dozens of figures flashed out in the void. Are you swordsmen? The voice of an elder who had a cold face and looked like Luo Hai said. It was the great elder of Luo family, Luo Shan. Standing beside him was a middle-aged man with a solemn look, Luo family's master, Luo Hong. Another one who drew people's attention was a strapping man wearing a purple saber on his back, standing by Luo Hong's side. They knew why Jian Wushuang had come, so they didn't look happy. Dear gentlemen, I'm here to ask for a favor. My disciple is unwilling to marry Luo Hai. Therefore, can we break off the engagement? In compensation, here is an interspatial ring with lots of treasures and elixirs in it. Jian Wushuang gave it to them. Taking the interspatial ring, Luo Shan didn't even look at it. He said in a deep voice, So easy for you. So what do you want? Jian Wushuang said coldly. Simple. Luo Shan said. Where are the 3 protectors? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures appeared before Jian Wushuang. 2 men and 1 woman, all reached the Saint Realm and the 3rd stage of domain. 1 step further, they would walk into pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Strength speaks, said Luo Shan. Swordsman, if you want to break off the engagement, defeat the 3 protectors first. Otherwise, we will not accept any compensation. Oh! Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and a smile appeared on his face. Please. Jian Wushuang calmly looked at the 3 protectors. They looked at each other, nodded secretly. The next moment they moved towards Jian Wushuang. Boom! A purple flowing light flashed like a ghost and rushed towards Jian Wushuang's head directly. Too fast. A normal Saint Realm expert would not be able to react to it. Experts of Luo family stood in the void and calmly watched. The 3 protectors have been together for years, and they cooperate very well. They can even battle an expert at pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Therefore, it couldn't have been better to be able to test Swordsman's strength with them. Luo Hong, Luo family's master, said with a smile. Being one large family, not only did the Luo family had deeper and stronger background, but it had a wiser and more farsighted master than Lin family. Actually, after hearing the news yesterday, they had discussed how to test Jian Wushuang with the 3 protectors. If Jian Wushuang defeated them, it proved that Jian Wushuang's battle strength was in pinnacle of the Saint Realm. And they would like to do him a favor, accepting the compensation peacefully. However, if he was defeated, they would make it difficult. He should understand that to refuse the engagement with Luo family, one of the 6 families, one would need to pay something. Thwack! A loud thump sounded. Jian Wushuang attacked the purple flowing light. Jian Wushuang fought back with a naked fist. After seeing this, many experts were shocked. But the strapping man standing beside Luo Hong was interested. Such a strong body. He gasped with admiration. After the thump, Jian Wushuang motivated his force of gale and thunderbolt. Then 3 residual shadows appeared in the void and beat the 3 protectors back. Clearly Jian Wushuang was the winner. The three protectors got back on their feet and looked aghast at Jian Wushuang. In a flash he defeated all three. Too fast. Too easy. They were far weaker than Jian Wushuang. Experts of Luo family were stunned. Stage 2. Luo Hong, Luo family's master, said with a grim look on his face, "Swordsman, his battle strength should be in Stage 2. Yes. The strapping man beside agreed with interest flashed in his eyes. Then Luo Hong said, "Your strength impressed us. I agreed to break off the engagement." "Thank you," Jian Wushuang said with a smile and felt relieved. He thought they would tangle with Luo family and have a fierce fight with them, but it seemed Luo family was much wiser. But at this moment, whoosh! A figure suddenly showed up in front of Jian Wushuang. It was the strapping man wearing a saber on his back and standing beside Luo Hong. "Mr. Lei Dao, what do you—" People of Luo family were confused. Staring at Jian Wushuang, Lei Dao's battle intent slowly increased. Chapter 385 Lei Dao. Chapter 385. Lei Dao. Jian Wushuang looked at the person facing him while frowning. This man exuded an extremely violent and overbearing aura, with fanatical eyes and overwhelming battle intent. "My name is Lei Dao, and my favorite thing in my life is to fight with real experts. In today's Iron Saber territory, I have challenged all the experts who have reached the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. It is rare to meet an expert like you who looks like someone at Stage 2. Anyway, we have to fight a battle," Lei Dao said. Stage 2. Jian Wushuang was surprised. "Master Luo Hong, would you mind if I fight with this swordsman in your Luo family mansion?" Lei Dao glanced at Luo Hong. "As long as you don't tear down my mansion, mister. Lei Dao, just do whatever you want," Luo Hong said with a smile. "Swordsman, please." Lei Dao cupped one hand in the other before his chest towards Jian Wushuang to show courtesy, and then directly attacked him. A purple saber appeared in Lei Dao's hand, who had come in front of Jian Wushuang with only one single stride covering tens of zhangs. The purple saber turned into a purple thunderbolt, and was cleaving towards Jian Wushuang with a shrill boom across the void. "Expert!" Jian Wushuang's face turned gloomy. Just watching Lei Dao's strike, Jian Wushuang understood immediately that he was facing a real expert. When the extremely overwhelming saber approached, even Jian Wushuang felt an unusually great pressure. The pressure was even greater than that brought to him when the four holy masters from the Holy Emperor Palace attacked him together at the palace. As for the strength of this Lei Dao, it was obviously far from being comparable to that of the four holy masters. Even the strongest first holy master was much weaker than him. While the saber was arriving, Jian Wushuang shook his body. Then he stepped forward with his right hand clenched tightly, and a blast of outrageous force was gathered. He directly punched forward with a boom. Rumbling, at that moment, it seemed that the heaven and earth were trembling. Pung! Jian Wushuang's fist collided against the purple saber with a violent crash. His body was immediately blown backward, while Lei Dao's body also trembled. Lei Dao looked at Jian Wushuang in a surprise. "He dared punch directly with his fist against my saber, and my saber did not split his palm." Jian Wushuang was also shocked. "My flesh can compare with magic weapons, but when he struck, my palm was numbed. It's my limit to accept one of his strikes with my bare hands. I could never receive a second attack." Jian Wushuang secretly thought. "Haha, come again." Lei Dao laughed. Then he strode out again. He performed another violent cleave with his saber. This time Jian Wushuang could not block it with bare hands. A long sword appeared in his hand. This sword was obtained from the Holy Emperor Palace. It was a medium second-grade magic weapon named Lonely Heart. There was no other way. The triple-kill sword as a first-grade magic weapon was too well known. Hence, Jian Wushuang usually used this Lonely Heart sword in public battles. With a cold snort, the long sword in Jian Wushuang's hand turned into a ghost snake and swerved out. Hua! 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 There were 4 consecutive sword moves, each of which was amazingly fast with most eccentric angles, making that Lei Dao unable to resist with all of his power. After the 4 strikes, however, Jian Wushuang suddenly withdrew his body, with the sword in his hand cleaving out. The first-grade sword technique, dragon-killing sword technique, was displayed with immediately explosive power. Lei Dao tried to defend with his saber, but found his saber was struck away violently by Jian Wushuang's sword. Amazing! Lei Dao stood up firmly and looked with excited sparkling eyes at Jian Wushuang. You are extremely powerful. If I want to defeat you, I'm afraid that I would have to display my most powerful techniques. Yet, that technique can only be used in life and death struggles. Now we are just sparring, so it's not necessary for me to use it. Saying this, Lei Dao slowly sheathed his saber into the scabbard. Evidently, he had no more intent to fight against Jian Wushuang. Your strength is incredible. If you use your most powerful technique, I'm afraid I cannot withstand it. Jian Wushuang smiled modestly. Haha, swordsman. It's rare to meet with an expert like you. Let's have a good talk, okay? Lei Dao laughed. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. He had found that Lei Dao was a bold and straightforward man with a free spirit, who was worth befriending. Anyway, he had just arrived at the Divine Land, and needed to know more. Perhaps he could get answers from Lei Dao. 2 warriors, the Luo family has prepared wine for you. You could have a good talk here. Luo Hong said at this moment. Thanks to Master. After thanking the Luo family, Jian Wushuang rushed to their mansion with Lei Dao, and Lin Lan obediently followed Jian Wushuang. Oh! In a manner of the mansion of Luo family, Jian Wushuang and Lei Dao were sitting together. Swordsman, you could block my saber with your bare fist. Your body is so strong. I have fought against countless experts in so many years in the Divine Land. There is no one, however, whose physique could compare with yours. Lei Dao admired. Your saber techniques are also terrifying, powerful, and overwhelming. Recalling the saber techniques Lei Dao had wielded just now, Jian Wushuang also gasped in admiration. Haha, however powerful my saber techniques, you defeated me. Lei Dao laughed. By the way, your strength is so overwhelming. Yet, why haven't I heard about your name in the Iron Saber territory? I come from an outside continent, and have just arrived at the Divine Land, Jian Wushuang said. No wonder. Lei Dao was silent for a while. You cultivated in an outside continent but obtained the strength of Stage 2. You are really amazing. Stage 2. Jian Wushuang frowned. Lei Dao, when you fought against me you mentioned Stage 2. What does Stage 2 mean? You don't know. Lei Dao glanced at Jian Wushuang in astonishment, but he immediately understood. Right, anyway, you have just arrived at Divine Land. It's normal that you don't know this classification. Let me explain it to you. Lei Dao began to explain. You should know that there is no difference between the height of the realms within the Saint Realm. The difference just lies in the perception of the origin. Therefore, as long as you reach the Saint Realm, you'll be classified into 3 levels of momentum, domain, and pinnacle. Let's put aside momentum and domain, and just talk about the pinnacle. Pinnacle refers to the pinnacle of the Saint Realm, which means you have reached a certain level of origin perception. However, warriors at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm also have different strengths, and the differences can be very large. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. Warriors at the same pinnacle of the Saint Realm really could have huge disparity. Just like the battle strength of the first Holy Master was far more powerful than that of the other 3 Holy Masters in Nanyang continent, who was much stronger than other warriors at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. As for Jian Wushuang himself, he was also at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm, but he could very easily kill an ordinary warrior at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Pinnacle of the Saint Realm is just a vague concept, and what really matters is the perception of the origin. The origin of heaven and earth is as vast as the sea. When you comprehend 1 water drop, you are at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. When you comprehend 100 water drops, you are still at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. The disparity, however, is substantial. According to the disparity, the pinnacle of the Saint Realm is divided into 3 stages. Chapter 386 3 Ultimate Stages of the Saint Realm. Chapter 386 3 Ultimate Stages of the Saint Realm. 3 Ultimate Stages of the Saint Realm. Stage 1 refers to the pinnacle of the Saint Realm but with ordinary strength. Such warriors at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm just meet the requirements of origin perception, and they only have mediocre manuals and techniques. Like the 3 experts at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm of the Luo family, they all belong to this level. In the entire Divine Land, the warriors at Stage 1 of the pinnacle of the Saint Realm are most numerous. Lei Dao slowly narrated. But Stage 2 is much stronger than Stage 1. Stage 2 generally means the warriors at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm, who have reached an extremely high level of the origin perception, and have condensed their origin marks. Origin mark? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Like this. Lei Dao lifted his hand. At this moment, Jian Wushuang noticed that there was a mark like a purple thunderbolt on Lei Dao's arm. I perceive the thunderbolt origin, so I can condense the thunderbolt mark. Lei Dao continued. After condensing your origin mark, your power will greatly rise when you generate origin energy. At the same time, the warriors at Stage 2 of the pinnacle of the Saint Realm own more powerful magic weapons, manuals or techniques. Of course, this is a normal situation. Some people who have not condensed their origin marks, however, still possess battle strength that can compare with that at Stage 2. Like you who have not condensed an origin mark, but still own a very powerful physique. Your battle strength is not weaker than mine, although I have the origin mark. Jian Wushuang did not know how to react. His body was really a great advantage. And what about Stage 3? Jian Wushuang asked. Stage 3 is quite incredible. The warriors at Stage 3 of the pinnacle of the Saint Realm not only own unusual magic weapons, treasures, and techniques, but also have higher perception of the origin. Generally, they have more than 3 origin marks at least. As for their battle strength, they are more than 10 times stronger than those at Stage 2. I have fought against and exchanged with experts at Stage 3 more than once, but we were not at the same level. Lei Dao smiled bitterly. So strong. Jian Wushuang was surprised secretly. Actually, above Stage 3, there is another level which is even more incredible at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Lei Dao suddenly said. Oh, stronger than Stage 3? Jian Wushuang looked towards him immediately. Yes, those warriors at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm are called heaven-defying level. Lei Dao said with a sense of admiration in his eyes. The warriors at that level of the pinnacle of the Saint Realm are really monsters at the Saint Realm. Not only in the Iron Saber territory, but even in the entire Divine Land, they are rare. Those monsters are called at the heaven-defying level, not only because they own extremely high perception of the origin. What's more important is that they have awakened another kind of unusual power, the power of soul. Soul. Jian Wushuang was astonished. You mean sword soul, saber soul, etc.? Yes, you know about that? Lei Dao turned to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang replied with a faint smile. He felt very strange. Regarding the sword soul, he did not only know about it. He had awakened the sword soul himself, and his sword soul was the double first-grade sword soul. There are some experts who have awakened the soul. Take the sword soul as an example. After awakening the sword soul, you can condense the sword soul phantom, which can make your strength rise explosively, just like an expert of Stage 3. If you awaken the sword soul, your battle strength can dramatically rise several times with the force of the sword soul. Naturally, you can be regarded as at the heaven-defying level. Lei Dao said. Jian Wushuang agreed with Lei Dao's words to the bottom of his heart. Having condensed the sword soul phantom, he indeed could make his strength dramatically rise with the force of the sword soul, which was powerful and overwhelming. The heaven-defying level is the most powerful being at the Saint Realm. Above that is the higher Cloud Realm. Lei Dao said. Cloud Realm. Jian Wushuang nodded quietly. Above the Saint Realm is the Cloud Realm. Jian Wushuang knew this. As for the heavenly creation skill, what is after Venerable Master is flying to the 9th heaven. Flying to the 9th heaven corresponded to the Cloud Realm. What a shame. Although both of us are at the level of the pinnacle of the Saint Realm, we are far from the Cloud Realm. Lei Dao sighed. What he said were the facts. It seemed that the pinnacle of the Saint Realm was just a step away from the Cloud Realm. Actually, however, this step included a lot of twists and turns. It was never easy to break through and reach the Cloud Realm. I haven't condensed the origin mark, but I have a strong body. Due to the power given by the heavenly creation skill, I can rival Lei Dao, who is at Stage 2. Yet, in fact, I still have many trump cards. Jian Wushuang thought. Just now when they fought, Lei Dao said he had not displayed his most powerful techniques, but Jian Wushuang had reserved even more techniques. For example, there were his Azura secret skill, multifold realm, and a lot of sword skills. Moreover, he had awakened the double first-grade sword soul, which he also had not displayed. He had not used the triple kill sword, which was a first-grade weapon either. According to what Lei Dao said, I own the battle strength of stage 2 just with my body and the heavenly creation skill. If I applied the Azura secret skill, the Yellow Spring Road, and the multifold realm to create domain suppression, I should be able to rival those experts at the top of stage 2. If I additionally use the force of the sword soul, maybe I could compete with the experts at stage 3. Jian Wushuang thought secretly. Of course, this was only based on what Lei Dao said. He had to make some guesses in judgment about his own strength. Yet, whether his current strength could really reach stage 3 could not be confirmed until he really fought a stage 3 expert. By the way, Swordsman, you have just arrived at the Divine Land. Have you found a place to stay? Lei Dao suddenly turned to Jian Wushuang. You're right, I haven't. Jian Wushuang nodded. Haha, so why don't you go to the Lord of the Territory just like me? Lei Dao said. Lord of the Territory? Iron Saber Lord? Jian Wushuang frowned. Yes. Lei Dao laughed. The Iron Saber Lord is a top expert at the Cloud Realm. He has a good reputation in the entire Divine Land. What's more important, he is very kind and nice, so there are a lot of experts gathered in his territory. You may think the 6 large families, the middle families and the small families are all powerful. Actually, anyone clearly knows that the most terrifying person is the Iron Saber Lord, and his Iron Saber army has gathered the most experts. For example, in the Luo family, one of the 6 families, there are about a dozen experts of the Saint Realm, including 3 at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. It looks powerful. In fact, however, the Luo family is nothing in front of the Iron Saber army, who can randomly send a few warriors to easily destroy the Luo family. There are a lot of experts in the Iron Saber territory, but frankly speaking, more than 90% of the top experts in the territory have been gathered in the Iron Saber army. And that is where an expert like you should stay. Chapter 387 Iron Saber Lord. Chapter 387 Iron Saber Lord. Iron Saber Army? More than 90% of the top experts in the Iron Saber territory are gathered there? Jian Wushuang showed his interest. How about my suggestion? Would you consider it? Lei Dao looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile. I don't need to consider. I've decided. I'll go to the Iron Saber Army. Jian Wushuang directly answered. He was naturally belligerent. The place where experts gathered like the Iron Saber Army was just what he dreamed of. Therefore he did not need to think about it. I guess that you would be interested. Lei Dao laughed brightly, and then he raised his glass. Come, Swordsman. Let's have a drink. Jian Wushuang also raised his glass with a smile. And just as Jian Wushuang and Lei Dao were drinking and chatting, a strange energy fluctuation suddenly came from the nearby courtyard. Well, this is... Both Jian Wushuang and Lei Dao were surprised. Then they immediately moved their bodies and appeared in the void. Through the void, the two could clearly see Lin Lan in the courtyard, whose breath had surged up. Divine transcendence? Jian Wushuang's eyes were brightening. Haha, Swordsman, congratulations. You've accepted a good disciple. Lei Dao congratulated Jian Wushuang at once. Jian Wushuang responded with a smile. Actually, he was very happy to see that. Lin Lan was extremely talented and had been qualified to pursue the Saint Realm even 2 years ago. However, due to the witch poison, she had not successfully broken through. Instead, her realm had fallen drastically. Now, the witch poison had been removed by Jian Wushuang. When Lin Lan's realm had recovered, she was naturally closer to the Saint Realm. Actually, there was only a paper-thin barrier to cross. As soon as the thin piece of paper was broken, Lin Lan naturally passed through. Before long, the aura of Lin Lan in the courtyard slowly calmed down, and her eyes opened. She looked up at Jian Wushuang and bowed respectfully. Master. Good. Jian Wushuang responded with a slight smile, stepping down with Lei Dao. I thought it would take some time for you to break through the Saint Realm again after your strength was recovered, but now it seems I have really underestimated you. It's all due to Master removing the witch poison for me. Otherwise, I would never break through the Saint Realm. I'm afraid it wouldn't have been long before I fell into the primordial gold core. Lin Lan was humble but confident. I can only help you this time. In the future, you have to rely on yourself. Jian Wuxiang glanced at Lin Lan and said, I have promised to Brother Lei Dao that I would go to the Iron Saber Lord and join the Iron Saber army. What about you? What's your plan? Me? Lin Lan frowned. And then she relaxed and seriously said, I intend to travel the world by myself. Oh. Jian Wuxiang nodded quietly. That's all right. I will always be busy cultivating, and have no time to arrange for your practice. If you continue to follow me, it may not be a good thing. After saying that, Jian Wuxiang turned his palm upside down and gave an interspatial ring to Lin Lan. Inside the interspatial ring, there are some treasures you may use. You take it. In the future, when you travel around the world yourself, you should take care and never lose your life. Thank you so much, Master. Lin Lan accepted the interspatial ring and nodded respectfully. Go. Jian Wuxiang waved his hand. Lin Lan knelt down at this moment and kowtowed heavily 3 times towards Jian Wuxiang, and then directly left. She is such a beautiful disciple. You don't let her stay with you but just let her leave alone? Lei Dao playfully looked at Jian Wuxiang. Young eagles can only fly when they spread their wings. What's more, I am a big man, and if I'm always followed by a beautiful female disciple, what does it mean? Jian Wuxiang spread out his hands. You are aware? Lei Dao glanced at Jian Wuxiang, followed by a somewhat strange question. In fact, I wonder how old you are. Your strength is so powerful, so you should be old, but you look so young. This is a secret. Jian Wuxiang smiled slightly and did not answer to him. That's okay if you don't want to say. Lei Dao curled his mouth. Let's go. I'll lead you to see the Lord of the territory. Before long, Jian Wuxiang set out with Lei Dao, going to the place where the Iron Saber Lord lived. Oh, the Iron Saber territory was very vast, which was somewhat larger than the Nanyang continent. Iron Saber Lord lived on a long mountain range, on which there were many buildings. Jian Wuxiang and Lei Dao moved at full speed, but it still took 3 full days before they arrived. Swordsman, you'll see the Lord of the territory at once, Lei Dao said. Iron Saber Lord. There was a sense of expectation in Jian Wuxiang's eyes. I have heard that the experts at the Cloud Realm could easily kill experts at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm by just a lifting of his hand. In the vast divine land, he could be regarded as an overlord being. But I've never seen an expert at the Cloud Realm. Perhaps Iron Saber Lord would be the first expert at the Cloud Realm I would see in my life. That is Huoyou Palace where the Lord lives. Lei Dao pointed to a towering palace in the distance, which was almost all black. The palace was sending out golden ripples and circles, sweeping through all directions. Its pressure surprised Jian Wuxiang. Follow me and head down. Lei Dao laughed. Jian Wuxiang nodded, and then landed in the front of Huoyou Palace following Lei Dao. There were some guards whose strength even astonished Jian Wuxiang, in front of the Huoyou Palace. The Saint Realm. The guards were experts at the Saint Realm. In the entire Iron Saber territory, probably only the Iron Saber Lord had the qualification to employ them. The guards didn't stop Lei Dao and Jian Wuxiang when they saw them. Is the Lord in the palace? Lei Dao asked. The Lord is holding a meeting with 2 army masters and some commanders, a guard respectfully answered. Lei Dao nodded. Swordsman, let's come in. Then, following Lei Dao, Jian Wuxiang directly stepping into the Huoyou Palace. Huoyou Palace was extremely huge. Following Lei Dao, Jian Wuxiang came to the main hall of the Huoyou Palace. As soon as he entered, Jian Wuxiang saw several figures standing and sitting in both sides of the hall. These people possessed incomparably terrifying aura, much more powerful than those of the ordinary pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Experts. All of these people were experts. Not one of them is weaker than Lei Dao. Some are even stronger. Jian Wuxiang was terrified. In the entire hall, the most frightening being for Jian Wuxiang was an untidy and somewhat slovenly black-haired man sitting at the top. The black-haired man was sending out waves, with the oppressive feeling just like being pressured by a whole world. This man is Lord of the Iron Saber territory? Jian Wuxiang looked at the black-haired man, just as the latter also looked at him. Suddenly Jian Wushuang just felt a flash of thunderbolt across his head, and his whole body was completely overwhelmed. Terrifying. Just a look and Jian Wushuang felt heart-stopping fear. This was the absolute strength of an expert at the Cloud Realm. Chapter 388 The 13th Commander. Chapter 388 The 13th Commander. Lord. Lei Dao respectfully saluted and introduced, "This is Swordsman, who has just arrived at the Divine Land from the outside continent. He is here to join your army." Lord. Jian Wushuang also respectfully saluted. "Before coming here, I have fought against Swordsman, and he has the battle strength at Stage 2. Lei Dao said continually. Stage 2. Iron Saber Lord at the top of the hall nodded slightly. My Iron Saber army is a place where a lot of experts are gathered. An expert at Stage 2 of the pinnacle of the Saint Realm is strong enough to be a commander. However, whether you swordsmen really have such strength needs to be tested." Mo Dong. A cold and tough man appeared in front of Jian Wushuang at once. "Swordsman, this is a law of the Iron Saber army. I hope you understand." Lei Dao looked at Jian Wushuang. I understand." Jian Wushuang nodded. The cold and tough man was staring at Jian Wushuang. "Swordsman, be careful." As the voice fell, a flush of skyrocketing power surged up from Mo Dong's body, who appeared in front of Jian Wushuang in a flash. Then his right hand became a claw and attacked Jian Wushuang like a lightning. The fingertips slashed across the void, causing a shrill noise. The void seemed to be torn in half by this swift claw. Watching this claw, the lonely heart sword appeared in Jian Wushuang's hand. Then an extremely fierce stab was extended out. At the moment of this thrust, a mighty killing intent swept through the whole hall. It was so strong that many experts in the hall looked askance at it. The killing intent is so strong. It means that his perception of the slaughter origin is extremely high, but he is still far from condensing the origin mark. The experts around were all peak experts above Stage 2 who had very high perceptions. In one glance, they could judge Jian Wushuang's degree of origin perception. Clang! A low and heavy sound of a collision was heard. At the same time, the point where the sword light met the claw was still faintly ablaze with flames. Hum! Mo Dong coldly snorted, and then spread out his two palms at the same time, and threw himself towards Jian Wushuang like an eagle. With a solemn face, Jian Wushuang waved his lonely heart sword and directly defended. Clang! 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 There were several continuous collisions, making clashing noises one after another echoing through the hall. After the last collision, Mo Dong stretched out his claw, which Jian Wushuang had no time to block and had to respond with his left fist. As a result, both of them were explosively forced back. You haven't condensed the origin mark, but when your strength erupts, you are much stronger than those at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Moreover, your physique is incredible. Your overall strength is not weaker than ordinary Stage 2 experts. Mo Dong solemnly looked at Jian Wushuang. When he fought against Jian Wushuang, he also felt an unusual pressure from this expert. The experts around in the hall all laughed at this scene. Obviously, they all recognized Jian Wushuang's strength. At the top of the hall, Lord of the Iron Saber territory looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile on the corners of his mouth, thinking secretly, Mo Dong did not do his best, but this swordsman, I'm afraid, has all hidden his strength. If he uses all his strength, it is not a problem to have a firm foothold at Stage 2 of the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Swordsman. Iron Saber Lord looked down. Jian Wushuang immediately looked up. From today, you will be the 13th commander of the number 1 army, Iron Saber Lord said in a grand voice. Thank you so much, Lord, Jian Wushuang said immediately. Qing, Iron Saber Lord said. Then a cyan-robed middle-aged man with steady aura walked out. You are the general of number 1 army. Now Swordsman will be under your command. It's your duty to tell him the regulations of the Iron Saber army, Iron Saber Lord ordered. Yes. Qing nodded respectfully. You can go. Iron Saber Lord waved his hand, with his figure slowly became more and fainter before finally disappearing. Such a marvelous skill. Jian Wushuang was shocked by this. The commanders and experts in the hall also began to leave. Swordsman. Qing walked to Jian Wushuang. General. Jian Wushuang slightly opened his mouth. Through the dialogue between Iron Saber Lord and Qing, Jian Wuhuang had known that Qing was the general of No. 1 Army, and he himself was No. 9 commander under Qing's command. You have just arrived at the Iron Saber Army. There is something about the army I need to tell you about, but now I'll lead you to see your people. Qing said. People? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Swordsman, each commander in the Iron Saber Army could command a team of warriors. The number is not large. It's only a 100-person team. Yet a single small team like this could easily destroy the Luo family, one of the 6 families. Lei Dao smiled aside. Oh, Jian Wushuang became curious. Lei Dao, come together with us, Qing said, and then he left the hall. Jian Wushuang and Lei Dao were following and talking in a low voice. Lei Dao, our general seems to be agreeable and modest, Jian Wushuang said. Of course. Lei Dao smiled. General Qing has a very high reputation and not bad temperament in the Iron Saber Army. Of course that's just for us. When he faces the enemy, the situation will be different. What's more, General Qing has powerful strength. He is a peak expert at Stage 3. Stage 3. Jian Wushuang was shocked. If he used all his trump cards and did his best, maybe he could rival the experts at Stage 3 now. Actually, not only General Qing but also all the commanders in the Iron Saber Army are similar. Lei Dao said, after all, most experts in the Iron Saber Army are from outside the Divine Land. They have reached the peak and have no pursuit in the remote continents, and then come to the vast Divine Land. In the remote continents, the cultivation conditions are not as good as in the Divine Land. That they could get to the peak there means they have experienced many years of cultivation. All of them are as old as monsters. They are different from the youngsters in the Divine Land, who dare to do anything relying on some strength. That's it. Jian Wushuang smiled. Guided by General Qing, it didn't take long for Jian Wushuang to arrive at an army camp. There were some sergeants in black armor in the camp. Armor. Jian Wushuang's expression was weird. In the Iron Saber Army, the ordinary sergeants need to wear armor according to the rule, while the experts above commander could wear whatever they want. There are no such rules for them. General Qing explained aside. When Jian Wushuang and the other 2 people turned up in the army camp, a call was sent out and the entire camp erupted. Numerous black-armored sergeants walked out of their camp tents. Very quickly they stood in orderly lines on the vacant field of the drill ground. 20 black-armored sergeants stood in a line, and there were 5 lines, so the number was just 100. Chapter 389 Demon Heart Canyon. Chapter 389 Demon Heart Canyon. Those sergeants are all experts at the Saint Realm. Jian Wushuang could not help but be shocked by the 100 sergeants in black armor. Of the 100 sergeants who had reached the Saint Realm, 5 had achieved the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. It was no wonder Lei Dao dare say that the Iron Saber Army could casually choose a squad of 100 experts to wipe out one of the 6 families, the Luo family. Swordsman, now you're the commander of this team. General Qing glanced at Jian Wushuang. Then he looked toward the sergeants. Listen, General Qing said. This is your commander. His name is Swordsman. The words caused turmoil among the sergeants. Swordsman. He is our new commander? He looks so young. Too young? He might be older than us. It's just because he retains his youthful look. To be commanders of the Iron Saber Army, they must be super experts. That's true. The minimum requirement for a commander of the Iron Saber Army is to reach Stage 2 of Pinnacle of the Saint Realm. They're much stronger than us. The sergeants were whispering while observing Jian Wushuang closely. Swordsman, you can have a chat with your people. After you know them well, you can go to Demon Heart Canyon with me, General Qing said. Demon Heart Canyon? Jian Wushuang had a look of curiosity. Our army's primary task is to protect Demon Heart Canyon, General Qing explained. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded. Then he walked toward his sergeants. Watching their commander coming over, some of the sergeants shouted out. Commander, please take care of us. Commander, we will follow you from now on. Hehe, I pay my respects to you. I wonder whether you're married. Xie, don't flirt with our commander. Most of the sergeants were bold and forthright. Only a few had an indifferent character. Jian Wushuang warmly said hello to the sergeants. During the greetings, he remembered 5 sergeants' names. They were the 5 experts at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Each of them took charge of a squad of 20 members. After half a day, Jian Wushuang knew more about his team. Swordsman, lead your people to Demon Heart Canyon with me. General Qing, who had been waiting beside him, gave an order. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. He immediately set off with his team. Demon Heart Canyon, which was located on the border of the Iron Saber territory, was a massive canyon. After arriving at Demon Heart Canyon, Jian Wushuang immediately saw a huge campsite, full of sergeants. Long lines of tents were present. According to the number of tents, he estimated the sergeants at more than 1,000. So many people. All of them are experts of the Saint Realm? Jian Wushuang marveled at the number of sergeants. At this moment, he noticed another campsite on a mountain opposite to the campsite of Iron Saber Army, and their sergeants all wore silver armor. That is, Jian Wushuang frowned while watching the opposite campsite. That's the Silver-Winged Army, led by Silver Wing Lord General Qing said. Silver Wing Lord. Jian Wushuang raised his brows. He also knew that the Silver Wing territory was next to the Iron Saber territory, and that Silver Wing Lord was also a top expert of the Cloud Realm, not weaker than their lord. Silver-Winged Army camped opposite us. They are fighting with us? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. No, General Qing shook his head and said, we all belong to Marquis Piaoxue, which means that we're the same camp. If we don't have a grudge against each other, our 2 armies won't fight. They're here because a cave mansion appeared in Demon Heart Canyon not long ago. Cave mansion? Jian Wushuang was shocked. General Qing continued, the cave mansion was left by a Cloud Realm expert, who was even stronger than Iron Saber Lord and Silver Wing Lord. After the cave mansion emerged, the 2 lords all came over and wanted to explore it, but they found the cave mansion being protected by a formation. The formation is powerful. The 2 lords tried their best but could not break it, so they have to wait until the formation disappears automatically. Since the cave mansion was found, the formation has started quickly dissipating. It must break soon, so Iron Saber Lord asked our first Amy to guard here. Once it breaks, we will immediately occupy it. Maybe we can't take it all, but at least we took the initiative. Ah! Jian Wushuang immediately understood. The Silver-Winged Army must think in the same way as the Iron Saber Army. Swordsman. General Qing looked toward Jian Wushuang. The power is respected in the vast divine land, as well as in the Iron Saber Army. There are many aggressive warriors in our army. You're the commander and will face some challenges. You cannot refuse these challenges. It's fine if you lose to the other commanders. But don't be defeated by ordinary sergeants, or you will be laughed at by them. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded while looking forward to it in his heart. He was also keen to battle, especially when he met real experts. The Iron Saber Army was full of experts. Lay Dao, the rest of things is up to you, General Qing said, and then he left. Haha, Swordsman, let me show you around our campsite, Lay Dao said with a smile. Then he took Jian Wushuang to the campsite. Lots of sergeants in black armor gathered in 2s and 3s. Some of them were chatting, some were drinking, most of them were cultivating in the tents. Lay Dao and Jian Wushuang attracted the attention of the sergeants. They all fixed their eyes on Jian Wushuang. He doesn't wear armor but a black robe. He is a new commander. He looks too young. Tut, a new commander, what about his strength? Jian Wushuang walked forward and could notice that their eyes sparkled with eagerness. Chapter 390 Challenge. Chapter 390 Challenge. Swordsman, wait and see. Some of them will challenge you soon, Lay Dao said in a low voice. Jian Wushuang wore a faint smile, with a flicker of battle intent in his eyes. He thought with eager expectation, come on, the more the better. He had lived in the Nanyang continent. It was a remote continent, so supreme experts were limited, but that was a different situation in the Divine Land. He was eager for this land because he desired to fight with the top experts from the divine land. Since he stepped on this island, he had fought several times, but he had not used his full strength. Furthermore, he had not experienced a really challenging fight. Lei Dao and Mo Dong were powerful enough to be taken seriously, but the two experts had made only tentative attacks on Jian Wushuang, so they had not had all-out fights. He yearned to fiercely battle real top experts. While Jian Wushuang was thinking about it, a black figure appeared in front of them. There he is. Lei Dao's eyes lit up. A bald man was in black armor, which meant he was just an ordinary sergeant. "Commanders, Huangfu Hao pays my respects to you," the bald man said while bowing to them. "What's up?" Lei Dao pretended not to know his intent. "You are a new commander, right? May I know your name?" Huangfu Hao asked. "I'm Swordsman. It's true that I've just become the commander of the Iron Saber Army," Jian Wushuang replied. "Commander Swordsman, I've recently fallen into a bottleneck. I want to make a breakthrough, so I'm looking for an expert to help me. I wonder whether you would like to teach me some moves," Huangfu Hao said. Just as I expected, Jian Wushuang could not help but smile. He knew Huangfu Hao just used his bottleneck as an excuse and that his real purpose was to challenge him. Sure. Jian Wushuang accepted his challenge without hesitation. "Thanks," Huangfu Hao said while raising his head. A surge of an overwhelming aura rose from his body, just a bit weaker than Lei Yun's. Huangfu Hao is famous in the Iron Saber Army. Though he's an ordinary sergeant at stage 1, he is still one of the strongest and almost has stage 2 strength. "You should be careful. Don't lose," Lei Dao warned in a friendly manner. "Don't worry." Jian Wushuang wore a slight smile and looked confident. "Commander Swordsman, please." Huangfu Hao's eyes became fierce as if he were a ferocious beast. "Show your move," Jian Wushuang said. Whoosh! The void before Jian Wushuang suddenly split. Huangfu Hao dashed toward him like a bull, with a heavy sword in his hand. The sword weighed over 5,000 kilograms at least. Shua! A streak of sword light flashed through the air, causing peculiar waves to spread out. Jian Wushuang stood there as if he did not see it, and let it strike at him. The sword light directly flashed through his body, but no blood flowed. Residual shadow. Huangfu Hao was a bit surprised. Meanwhile, a gust of wind swept toward him. Huangfu Hao immediately turned his head and found his opponent standing beside him and striking a blow toward his face. He moved his body and suddenly opened his mouth, letting out a roar. The roar belonged to an attack of sound waves. Though it was not powerful enough, it could stop Jian Wushuang for a second. Then Huangfu Hao could take advantage of it to parry the attack with his heavy sword. "You do possess some strength." Jian Wushuang nodded in private. Then he stepped backward. At this moment, Huangfu Hao had changed into a furious lion and darted forward. He waved his sword while chasing. The heavy sword emitted overwhelming power. With the force of gale and thunderbolt, Jian Wushuang changed into a bolt of lightning and easily flashed across the sky. His opponent's crazy attack could not hurt him. "Commander Swordsman, you're an expert at stage 2. You're just running?" Huangfu Hao said angrily. "Oh." Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and laughed. "Since you said that, I won't run." Jian Wushuang stopped. Then a surge of great power gathered in his hands and changed into a giant punch, lashing out as if a volcano which had been dormant for billions of years suddenly erupted. Pung! The punch collided with Huangfu Hao's sword, causing an overwhelming power to spread. Huangfu Hao's expression changed while he felt a tingling sensation in his whole arm. Pung! 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 Jian Wushuang launched several attacks. Each of his punches, full of billions of kilograms of strength, landed on his opponent's heavy sword and forced him to retreat. The last punch directly blew Huangfu Hao's sword away. "You lost." Jian Wushuang stood there while calmly looking at his opponent. A large number of sergeants who witnessed this fight could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. How powerful! He defeated Huangfu Hao only using his strength. He lives up to his title as a commander. The sergeants praised Jian Wushuang. Lei Dao narrowed his eyes while staring at Jian Wushuang. Huangfu Hao is close to stage 2 battle strength, but Swordsman could beat him with pure strength. He is so strong. I didn't feel that when sparring with him. He did not know that Jian Wushuang previously hid his real strength and just used the strength activated by spiritual power. Though it just came from spiritual power, his strength was still greater than that of an ordinary expert at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. But during the fight with Huang Fu Hao, he not only activated strength from his spiritual power to its limit, but also strength from his powerful body. Therefore, he was much stronger than experts at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. That was why he could defeat Huang Fu Hao only using his strength. Chapter 391 Commander's Fight. Chapter 391 Commander's Fight. Commander Swordsman is powerful indeed. I deserve to lose, Huang Fu Hao said respectfully. He saw Swordsman with a long sword on his back and knew that he must be adept at sword principle, but the commander defeated him without using any weapons, which proved his strength. You're also very strong, Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. At this moment, haha, our new commander seems good. Hearty laughter erupted. Then they saw a brown-haired man flying toward them in the air. With a giant axe on his back, the man looked arrogant. Shirling, do you want to have a fight? Lei Dao looked at the man with a smile. Sure, it's rare to meet a new commander. How could I miss such an opportunity? The brown-haired man laughed and soon appeared before Jian Wushuang. Shirling. Jian Wushuang looked at him. Shirling is also a commander. He is a bit stronger than me, Lei Yun added. Oh. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Swordsman, come on, let's fight. Shirling stared at Jian Wushuang with sparkling eyes. Commander Shirling, please teach me some moves. Jian Wushuang replied with a faint smile. Hearing this, the sergeants in black armor became excited. Commander Swordsman accepted the challenge. Two commanders are fighting. All the sergeants looked excited. Shirling grinned. The moment he stepped forward, a huge axe shadow slashed out. So fast. Jian Wushuang was not only shocked at his speed, but also his momentum. I need to draw my sword. Jian Wushuang made his decision. The Lonely Heart sword appeared in his hand, and immediately slashed at the axe shadow. Clang! A loud crash came out. Suddenly Shirling emanated a violent and overwhelming aura. His strength erupted. Hua! 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 Streaks of axe shadow continuously swept toward Jian Wushuang with the momentum of a landslide or tsunami. Every stroke was fast and powerful. Too fast. Jian Wushuang waved his long sword to block it, but he was barely able to resist and was forced to retreat. The axe shadow's power and speed did not decrease, and even became fiercer. I'll lose if it keeps going on like this. Jian Wushuang realized that he had to change his tactics. Then a slaughter domain spread out. Shirling did not take it seriously. The domain had a little effect on an expert who had reached the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. It did not work at all on an expert who had reached stage 2 of the realm. Shirling immediately saw waves spreading when Jian Wushuang performed domain. Each wave, which was full of great sword essence, looked the same as the effect of domain, but it was more powerful than the latter. It was the first grade sword technique, multifold realm. A year ago, when Jian Wushuang stayed in the Nanyang continent, he had just started practicing multifold realm and could only display the first realm. Then he had traveled around the endless territories for a year and kept practicing. Now he could perform the second move of multifold realm, the tenfold realm. Jian Wushuang performed tenfold realm and slaughter domain simultaneously. Although slaughter domain posed little threat to Shirling, after all, tenfold realm was a first-grade sword technique. Jian Wushuang exerted his full strength to perform the two, and imposed great pressure on Shirling, whose movements immediately slowed down. The speed of both his axe shadow and body dropped dramatically. Now I can fight against you. Jian Wushuang wore a faint smile. He suddenly rushed toward his opponent while weaving out a sword shadow. Damn it! His domain can suppress me to this extent? Shirling turned pale. In the tenfold realm he was attacked by sword essence at every moment, as if he was stuck in the mud. Lei Dao wore a weird look while watching this fight. I didn't expect that Swordsman had such a powerful skill. Shirling might be forced to concede. Haha, he is so arrogant. It's good to teach him a lesson. Our new commander has a powerful skill indeed. The combination of Sword Realm and Slaughter Domain could brutally suppress Shiling. Several commanders stood beside Lei Dao. They all came to watch this fight. They were shocked by the realm technique Jian Wushuang performed and envied him in their heart. Everybody knew such a technique helped a lot in a fight. With the help of the tenfold realm and Slaughter Domain, Jian Wushuang took the initiative to fight back. Soon he got the upper hand. Though they fought fiercely for a while, Jian Wushuang remained at an advantage. Good. This feels so good. Jian Wushuang became excited, his eyes gleaming with joy. Shiling was powerful indeed. Though he was suppressed by the tenfold realm, he could block all the attacks from his opponent. If I don't show my trump card, it will be hard for me to beat him, Jian Wushuang thought. He had exerted his full strength, but could barely prevail. So if he wanted to defeat Shiling, he had to use his trump card now. He had lots of trump cards including the Azura secret skill, double first grade sword soul, mind's eye sword technique, heart-killing sword technique, triple kill sword. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang had no such plan, as he was enjoying this fight. By contrast, Shiling suffered terribly in the realm. I quit. Shiling suddenly snarled and then directly retreated to the side. Jian Wushuang stopped and looked at Shiling with a faint smile. Your realm skill is too odd. I felt suppressed in such a realm and could not show my strength, Shiling said in a low voice. Haha, Shiling, you lost the fight. Don't find an excuse for yourself, Lei Dao said with a smile. Yep, Sword Realm is one of Swordsman's skills. You want him to hide his real strength? Tut, it's rare to see Shiling being forced to concede. Laughter rang out. Lei Dao and the other commanders all stepped forward. Chapter 392 The Cave Mansion Opens. Chapter 392 The Cave Mansion Opens. Swordsman, let me introduce them, Lei Dao pulled Jian Wushuang and said. This is Boozer, a crazy drunk. Lei Dao pointed at a white-robed young man who looked drunk. With skittish eyes, the man seemingly led a dissolute life. This is Yao Mei, a completely evil spirit. Jian Wushuang saw the beautiful lady with a hot figure staring at him with a spurious smile. He was scared. This is Yun He. Lei Dao pointed to a middle-aged man, whose mild smile was like a gentle spring breeze. You have fought with Shiling, so no need to introduce him, Lei Dao said. I'm Swordsman, nice to meet you, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Swordsman, you have an amazing skill. Even Shiling lost to you. You're really powerful, Yao Mei said. Hearing this, Shiling could not help but curl his lips. Small tricks. It doesn't deserve a mention, Jian Wushuang said modestly. It's not a small trick. Such a powerful technique would help you a lot in a fight. Yun He looked over and said seriously, moreover, you're already so fast and have a powerful body. Maybe you're not the strongest among us, but looking just at your ability to protect yourself, you would be number one. That's true. Lei Dao, Yao Mei and other commanders nodded in agreement. Even if you can't fight against General Qing at stage 3, you can survive. At this point, you're stronger than us. The other commanders seemingly said casually. In fact, they were envious of Swordsman's ability. During the fight with Shiling, Jian Wushuang's overall strength might not be impressive, but his ability to defend and survive was amazing. In this vast divine land, it did not matter how strong one was, as there was always someone stronger. However, it was most important for someone to have an exceptional ability of self-preservation. As long as you could stay alive, you would have an opportunity to improve your strength. By the way, including myself, there are 13 commanders in our first army, right? Where are the other commanders? Jian Wushuang suddenly asked. Right, there are 13 commanders in total. 2 commanders are carrying out their tasks and the others have gone to Flaming Battlefield. So only we're left to guard Demon Heart Canyon, Yun He replied. Flaming Battlefield? Jian Wushuang was surprised. What's the matter with Flaming Battlefield? It's a crazy violent battlefield, where the 2 marquises have fought against each other. But we don't know the real situation in there, because we haven't been there, Yun He said with a wry smile. You haven't been there? Jian Wushuang couldn't help but be astonished. I'd like to. After all, there are more experts in Flaming Battlefield. If I go there, I would have opportunities to fight a large number of top experts, but our Lord said I'm not strong enough, so he has no plans to send me there. Lei Dao spoke. Jian Wushuang was shocked in private. Lei Dao had reached stage 2 of Pinnacle of the Saint Realm. If he was not qualified to go Flaming Battlefield, what level are the experts who were battling in Flaming Battlefield? Don't think too much. Just improve yourself. If your strength improves, our Lord will send us there in the future, Yun He said. You're right. Lei Dao nodded and then grinned. Commander Swordsman has just arrived. Let's hold a party to welcome him. Let's go for a drink. The commanders walked into a tent and started drinking. Jian Wushuang stayed in Demon Heart Canyon. He usually cultivated by himself. Sometimes he would spar with the other commanders. They all got along well with each other. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Over at the campsite, Jian Wushuang stood in the air while emanating his sword realm. Yun He was trapped within it. With the help of Tenfold Realm, Jian Wushuang used his full strength to launch attacks. Although Yun He could parry all of them, he was still at a disadvantage. Guess how long Yun He can persist? Lei Dao asked with a smile. He was sitting by a long narrow table with Yao Mei Boozer and Shirling above the void. If he can hold for 20 breaths worth of time, that's awesome. Shirling glanced at the battlefield. He had fought with Jian Wushuang several times, so he was very clear how terrifying Jian Wushuang's sword realm was. If Jian Wushuang did not perform sword realm, Shirling could easily get the upper hand, but once the sword realm was displayed, he immediately lost ground. Shirling knew that what tortured him the most was the feeling of being suppressed in the sword realm. He had great strength but could not show all of it. I quit. After a while, Yun He conceded. Soon he and Jian Wushuang came back. Swordsman, your sword realm suppressed me so much. Yun He sighed. Jian Wushuang wore a smile. He often sparred and drank with these commanders, so they were familiar with each other. These commanders were powerful indeed. If he did not show his trump card, Jian Wushuang could not defeat any of them and could only have the upper hand at most. Therefore, Jian Wushuang gained a lot from his fights with them over the month. Come on, let's have a drink. Lei Dao raised a wine cup. Jian Wushuang was about to take it. Suddenly, an invisible wave spread out. It shook so heavily that all the people in Demon Heart Canyon perceived it. Their expressions changed. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Jian Wushuang and other commanders appeared in the sky and looked at the bottom of the canyon. They saw a stream of cyan energy flowing out. Though it was powerful, the cyan energy seemed on the edge of collapse. The cyan energy comes from the formation outside the cave mansion? Jian Wushuang thought. Whoosh! A figure appeared beside them. General Qing. They all noticed and cried out. The formation is going to dissipate. General Qing sighed and then gave an order. Go tell our Lord. Chapter 393 A Fight in Front of the Cave Mansion. Chapter 393. A Fight in Front of the Cave Mansion. The First Army, assemble! General Qing's voice resounded loudly over Demon Heart Canyon. A large number of black-armored sergeants flew up and assembled above the void. There were a dozen teams comprising more than 1,000 sergeants. These teams were led by 6 commanders. The amassed sergeants emanated a formidable and oppressive aura, which materialized as a black torrent. It looked as though an ancient beast had crept out and was lying in wait for its prey. Silver-winged army has started to assemble. Jian Wushuang saw numerous sergeants in silver armor gather in the opposite mountain. All of them possessed a powerful aura. It seems that we'll have a protracted battle. Lei Dao, Yao Mei and the other commanders looked grim. The Iron Saber Army and Silver-Winged Army had camped here for the cave mansion. Both sides wanted to wrest control of the cave mansion. They would have to fight for it when the formation dissipated. This moment they waited. All eyes were fixed on the cyan formation. The formation was in chaos. A large amount of frenzied energy radiated in all directions, weakening the power at its core. The formation's power had dwindled. Suddenly, bang! With a crack, the cyan formation eventually collapsed as expected. Experts waiting at both ends of the canyon noticed the break in the formation. "Go!" General Qing shouted as he moved toward the bottom of the canyon. The 6 commanders and their sergeants followed General Qing down. Rumble. The atmosphere was intense as a large number of figures swarmed into the bottom of the canyon like wasps. On the opposite mountain, experts of Silver-Winged Army dived forward. "Block them!" A low growl sounded from the Silver-Winged Army. As their spiritual power gushed out, sergeants of the Silver-Winged Army launched a mighty attack. There were more than 1,000 Silver-Winged Army sergeants attacking in tandem. Every attack was launched by an expert of the Saint Realm. What a magnificent scene! Even Jian Wushuang was somewhat frightened. The sergeants of the Iron Saber Army reacted quickly and lashed out with their own strikes. Attacks from both sides collided fiercely with each other. Rumble. The whole area shook violently as if it were the end of days. The impact from the attacks caused the mountains around the canyon to collapse. Demon Heart Canyon completely disappeared. This is terrifying. Jian Wushuang was numb with shock. The head-on confrontation between the two powerful armies was terrifying in its power and scope. Jian Wushuang was strong, but even he might be torn apart if he was involved in the battle. The battle strength of commanders at Stage 2 was insignificant compared to the two armies. General Qing led his army toward the gate of the cave mansion. The Silver-Winged Army is fully prepared for this fight. Obviously, it is impossible for us to take the entire cave mansion. We'll have to find a way to gain an advantage. General Qing's eyes flashed as he issued an order. Ordinary sergeants, stay outside the cave mansion. Commanders, go inside with me. Yes. Jian Wushuang and the other commanders responded. The sergeants of the Iron Saber Army stopped before the gate, while General Qing rushed into the cave mansion with the 6 commanders. Several figures from the Silver-Winged Army also glided forward. They possessed powerful aura and were led by a semi-naked bald man with vicious eyes and 3 fire marks on his left arm. The 3 origin marks showed that the bald man was a top expert at Stage 3. General Qing. It's been a long time since we met. The last time we met was in Flaming Battlefield, right? The bald man's laughter reverberated through the area. Ugh. General Qing looked at the bald man, eyes narrowing. General Qing, we were comrades in Flaming Battlefield, but now we have to fight each other for our own lord's benefit. So don't take it personally, Wu Ta said in an undertone. That's what I wanted to tell you too. General Qing snorted. Okay, let's fight, Wu Ta shouted. Wu Ta's 7 commanders, all of whom were experts at Stage 2, leaped forward. Go! General Qing responded in kind. Jian Wushuang and other 5 commanders immediately moved forward, with a cold look in their eyes. General Qing fought Wu Ta, who like him was an expert at Stage 3. Jian Wushuang and the other 5 commanders attacked the 7 commanders from the Silver-Winged Army. A fierce fight erupted in front of the cave mansion. An aquamarine-haired lady appeared quietly before Jian Wushuang and lashed out with her aquamarine whip. A torrent of strange waves began to flow. Viper-like, the long whip flashed across the sky at incredible speed and began to twine around Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang gathered a surge of power in his hand. He clenched his hands and punched the whip, unleashing the amassed power. As his punch landed, Jian Wushuang felt as if he had hit a ball of cotton. Meanwhile, the long whip wrapped around his wrist. Chapter 394 Bluestone Corridor. Chapter 394 Bluestone Corridor. It's strange. Jian Wushuang was inwardly shocked as the aquamarine long whip twisted around his arm like a vine. He recovered quickly and a surge of soaring sword essence erupted from him. His hands shook and threw off the long whip. Swish! Jian Wushuang drew his long sword and dashed forward. The lady with long aquamarine hair wielded her long whip casually. Shadows cast by the whip changed into waves, surging forward. Jian Wushuang felt as if he was falling into a vast sea. The continual lashing waves made it hard for him to free himself and suppressed his strength. The woman comprehends waterdrop origin so well. While he was struggling, Jian Wushuang noticed 2 origin marks on the lady's arms. These marks meant that she was at the peak of Stage 2. Jian Wushuang assessed the current situation. General Qing's army was led by 6 commanders. On the other hand, the silver-winged army led by Wu Ta had 7 commanders. These commanders were at stage 2, so one more person could give them an advantage if both sides were matched in terms of skill. It was therefore unsurprising that the silver-winged army already had the upper hand. I must do something. Jian Wushuang radiated an overwhelming sword essence. Invisible waves began to spread out and covered the entire battlefield. Sword Realm, Tenfold Realm. Slaughter Domain also started to sweep out. The 2 skills were combined into a deadly attack. What? The experts of the silver-winged army felt themselves enveloped by a flow of invisible power. It was as though they were stuck in mud with their movements restricted. Realm technique. How powerful! The silver-winged army experts were astounded and rendered helpless by the attack. On the other hand, the Iron Saber army commanders remained unaffected. This caused some excitement among the commanders. Haha, Swordsman, good job. Swordsman, I love you. Lei Dao and Yao Mei cried out. General Qing glanced at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Humph. Jian Wushuang snorted. He resumed his fight with the lady with long aquamarine hair. As she was now suppressed by the Tenfold Realm, she could no longer restrict Jian Wushuang's movements. Because of the Tenfold Realm, the strength gap between the both sides narrowed. Now the Iron Saber army almost drew even with their opponent. Wu Ta's face fell. I didn't expect that someone from the Iron Saber army would have such an odd technique. The realm sword skill or technique was rare in the vast divine land. It was also a cause of much envy. Wu Ta knew it was impossible to defeat the Iron Saber army, and decided to withdraw from the fight. Leave them alone. Let's go inside. Wu Ta repelled General Qing and shouted to his commanders. He rushed into the cave mansion. The silver-winged army commanders followed him inside. Hurry up. Let's follow them. Jian Wushuang and the other commanders responded to General Qing's orders and darted into the cave mansion. The bottomless broad bluestone corridor came into sight. Candle holders shaped like dragon heads were placed along both sides of the corridor. Instead of candles, the open mouths of the dragon heads held transparent gems which lit the path. This is a cave mansion? Why do I feel that I'm in a huge underground palace? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Jian Wushuang and the others moved forward quickly. The Iron Saber army and Silver-Winged army were separated by a short distance, with the former on the left side and the latter on the right side. Both armies remained vigilant, but they did not intend to fight. The corridor is too long. Jian Wushuang frowned at the bottomless corridor. They had walked for several thousand meters, but still could not see the end of the corridor. But at this moment, "Qi!" A faint sound rang out. Jian Wushuang looked at the candle holders along the corridor and saw a sliver of light. Be careful. The words had barely left General Qing when, "Chew, chew, chew, chew." A forlorn sound of breaking wind sounded. A black flowing light passed through the air and swept towards them, accompanied by streaks of black flowing light shooting from the candlesticks. The flowing light moved quickly with an overwhelming and frightening momentum. Jian Wushuang reacted first. He struck with his lonely heart sword and parried 3 streaks of black flowing light. These landed on the ground and showed themselves to be 3 black arrows made of special materials. The other commanders were also attacked by the black arrows. Ling, who stood behind Jian Wushuang, was targeted by 6 arrows. Damn! Ling paled at the onslaught. He tried to block the 6 arrows using his giant axe. His weapon was powerful, but less flexible than long swords or sabers. He was only able to deflect 4 arrows. The other 2 arrows continued their journey toward his chest and lower abdomen. At the critical moment, Jian Wushuang stepped forward and blocked Ling. He deflected the arrow targeting Ling's lower abdomen, but he had no time to parry the other. The black arrow swiftly crashed into Jian Wushuang's chest. Chapter 395 The Blood Gems. Chapter 395 The Blood Gems. Swish! With an ear-piercing sound, the black arrow pierced through the void into Jian Wushuang's chest. Jian Wushuang felt a sharp pain radiate outwards from his wound and involuntarily let out a suppressed groan. He had been protected by a shield made of spiritual power. However, the arrow had penetrated the shield. Jian Wushuang's chest had therefore been vulnerable to the arrow. The arrow could pierce the body of an expert of the Saint Realm, but Jian Wushuang's body was much stronger than an ordinary expert's. As such, the arrow only embedded itself superficially in his skin and muscle. The arrow had failed to pierce through his body or damage his vital organs. Nevertheless, the force of the impact threw Jian Wushuang and Shiling back several steps. "Swordsman, are you all right?" Lei Dao and the others nearby looked at Jian Wushuang with concern. "I'm fine." When Jian Wushuang regained his balance, he glanced at the arrow in his chest. He removed the arrow and put it in his interspatial ring. His wound was a bloody hole about the size of a finger. As the arrow had not reached his internal organs, he was not badly wounded. Lei Dao and the others were shocked at the scene. "Among us, you are the only one who won't die of such an attack," Lei Dao said in admiration. "Swordsman, thank you." Shiling looked at Jian Wushuang with gratitude. "No big deal," Jian Wushuang replied with a casual smile. He had gotten along well with these commanders in the past month. He saw them as friends. Helping them out when they were in danger was therefore second nature to him. The bluestone corridor had finally quietened down. Those present had been taken aback by the attack of arrows. Fortunately, no lives had been lost. The silver-winged army experts looked at Jian Wushuang with quizzical expressions. They had witnessed how Jian Wushuang had saved Shiling. Being shot by the black arrow is as bad as being attacked by an expert at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Moreover, arrows are excellent in piercing the flesh. Even experts of stage 3 can't survive such an attack, but this guy survived? How terrifically strong his body is. His body is as strong as a magic weapon. Amazing. He might not be the strongest one in the Iron Saber army, but he must be the most resourceful one. The silver-winged army experts were jealous of Jian Wushuang's skills. At the gate of the mansion, it had been Jian Wushuang who had helped the Iron Saber army turn the tables using his skill. Having now seen how strong his body was, these experts were doubly impressed. "Wu Ta." General Qing looked at Wu Ta and said, "We are in an unusual mansion full of danger, so we'd better stop fighting for the moment." Wu Ta frowned. He glanced at the endless corridor before them, and eventually nodded okay. Other commanders exchanged glances and nodded to themselves. "Guys, slow down and watch your back," General Qing warned. The experts from both sides resumed their path forward at a slower pace. The corridor was interminably long. The experts encountered 2 subsequent black arrow attacks in a mere half-hour. Having learnt from their experience in the first attack, the experts deflected the attacks with ease. Finally, they reached the end of the corridor. The end of the corridor led to a capacious, magnificent hall. Its walls were well decorated and covered with paintings. At the center of the hall there was a pool. Jian Wushuang and the others were on high alert as they walked in and looked around. Except for the luxurious decorations, the hall looked ordinary. The most unusual feature was the pool. The pool was small with an area of 2 to 3 square meters. Notably, the water in it was dark yellow. There were also faint strands of strange energy gathered in it. Jian Wushuang and the others were drawn to the pool. Pale yellow mist rose slowly out of the water. Swish, swish, swish. Beams of yellow light wafted from the pool floated in midair. Dozens of beams emerged from the water in succession. The light gradually faded away from the suspended light beams, revealing pieces of light yellow gems. The gems were as small as a baby's fist, but the power in them was intense. "What are those?" Seeing the gems, everyone was curious. "Blood gems. These are blood gems." General Qing's voice resounded in the hall, betraying his excitement at the discovery. "Blood gem." Wu Ta recognized the gems as well. He looked thrilled. Jian Wushuang studied the gems and was stunned. He was familiar with those gems. He even owned some. Blood gems. Jian Wushuang was extremely surprised. He had gained a blood puppet in his ancestors' land as a third reward. The puppet was strong, but it was hard to power it as blood gems were required each time for such an operation. According to what Jin Ling had said, The blood gem was extremely precious and rare even in the divine land. That was why he had only given Jian Wushuang 3 gems with the puppet. But now... Chapter 396 The Fight for the Blood Gems. Chapter 396 The Fight for the Blood Gems. Jian Wushuang was thrilled as he looked at numerous gems levitating in the air. His eyes shone with anticipation. The blood puppet was his trump card. Despite its strength, he had not used it and did not intend to do so unless absolutely necessary because he had a limited amount of gems. With so many gems within his grasp now, he would be able to use the puppet more freely. The blood gems are invaluable in making weapons, puppets, and elixirs, so each one is rare and precious. General Qing stared intensely at the gems and shouted, "Go! Get the gems! Let's get moving too!" Wu Ta roared and rushed toward the gems. The truce between the two armies was broken by the appearance of the blood gems. Boom! 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 Loud roaring sounds reverberated through the hall. The hall structure remained intact, and no dust was generated despite the strong vibrations. The hall had been built by its owner, and was sturdy enough to withstand a fight between Cloud Realm experts. Naturally, it was not significantly affected by a fight involving people who were merely in stage 2 or 3 of the Saint Realm. Humph! General Qing looked grave. He had been fighting with Wu Ta. As the only stage 3 experts present in the mansion, they were both separated from others. They dashed toward the gems. General Qing tried to grab a gem with an outstretched hand. As he did so, he saw a blast of fire waves surge from Wu Ta, who looked mad with fury. The wave hit the gems before General Qing could reach them, and the impact caused the gems to scatter. This brightened the commanders. Quick! Catch them! Obeying the order, the commanders stopped fighting and charged toward the gems that had been scattered. A fierce fight started immediately. At this moment, 4 beams of purple light wafted out of the pool and floated in the void like the gems. Are there more gems in the pool? Everyone was distracted by the light. Soon they realized that the objects that had just materialized were 4 purple talismans. Standing in the center of the hall, General Qing randomly grabbed a talisman. He held it in his hands and frowned as he examined it. Realizing what it was, he cried out happily, "This is a token! A token that can lead us into the inner part of the mansion." Token! Everyone was shocked, and their eyes betrayed their frenzied state of mind. Quick! Seize the tokens! Wu Ta growled. The 7 commanders of the silver-winged army tried their best to follow the order. Although they had one more person than Jian Wushuang's side, they were still unable to overpower them as they were suppressed by Jian Wushuang's sword realm. However, their intention now was to seize the blood gems and talismans. They would only need to hold off their opponents while one of them grabbed the items. Damn it! Seeing the silver-winged army collect the blood gems with ease, the 6 commanders of the Iron Saber army, including General Qing, looked grave. They were occupied with fighting their opponents and could only watch helplessly as the white-robed man from Silverwing Army retrieved the blood gems and put them into his interspatial ring. All this was because the silver-winged army outnumbered them by 1 person. Swish! A long green whip swept toward Jian Wushuang like surging waves. Jian Wushuang brandished his sword and knocked the whip away. He began to fight with a green-haired woman. Jian Wushuang noticed the white-robed man, who was collecting the gems, unhampered and unrestricted. He has already collected 6 blood gems. Jian Wushuang was aggrieved. These blood gems mean a lot to me. I have to get some. It seems that I have to use my trump cards now. Jian Wushuang contemplated his next steps and his killing intent abruptly swept over the hall. Azura's secret skill. Road to the underworld. Following his shout, the overwhelming killing intent gathered together and formed a bloody river, which covered the whole hall in an instant with overpowering force. What's this? Many of the experts looked at the river in shock, and they felt a burst of unusual power from the river. The white-robed man, who had been collecting the blood gems, noticed the river as well, but he ignored it. However, when he reached for the gem in front of him, a bloody palm formed by the rolling river slapped toward him. What? The man was stunned and drew back immediately. Jian Wushuang stood at the center of the river, and a cold light shined from within his eyes. Road to the underworld worked well with the tenfold realm. Including slaughter domain, there were 3 techniques working together at the same time. Compression. As the word escaped Jian Wushuang's lips, the force that had repressed the silver-winged army surged again. Boom! The river roared toward the army and caused the commanders that were floating in midair to sink, turning their shock into horror. How could this be? The pressure has become much stronger. The pressure of the sword realm was already formidable, and now it has almost doubled because of the blood river. Oh my God, my strength has been suppressed by 30%. Chapter 397 Survival Instinct. Chapter 397 Survival Instinct. Horrified. Stupefied. These were the emotions felt by the silver-winged army commanders as they faced the pressure from the blood river. They had successfully dealt with the pressure of the tenfold realm and slaughter domain at the same time before. This time, in addition to the pressure of the 2 techniques, they suffered an additional attack, Road to the Underworld. Their strength was suppressed by nearly 30%, although they were experts of Stage 2. All of them were affected to the same extent and no one was spared. In contrast, the Iron Saber army commanders were overjoyed that the river had not targeted them. As such, they were not affected at all. Swordsman! Swordsman! Lei Dao, Shiling, and General Qing looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Save your words. Go get the blood gems and the tokens first. Jian Wushuang shouted. Okay. Let's go. Lei Dao laughed as he rushed toward a blood gem beside him. The silver-winged army commanders tried to stop them, but their attempts were foiled by the blood river. They simply could not catch up with Lei Dao and the others. Gaining an advantage in speed, Lei Dao and the others effortlessly collected the gems. Facing this sudden change in situation, Wu Ta, the leader of the silver-winged army, looked despondent. Bastard! He cursed to himself and shot a chilly glance at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's summoning of Blood River Realm was the cause of the abrupt turn in events. Wu Ta realized that the only way to regain the upper hand was to kill Jian Wushuang. Wu Ta looked murderous as he left his army and charged toward Jian Wushuang. Go to hell! Wu Ta roared in anger as a scorching flame appeared in his hands. The flame burned with intensity and seemed capable of devouring everything in its path. Wu Ta clasped his hands tightly and attacked Jian Wushuang's head. There was a sizzling sound of burning. Damn! General Qing and his commanders were alarmed, but Jian Wushuang remained calm. A sliver of light had flashed across his eyes when Wu Ta attacked. He is in Stage 3. Jian Wushuang was increasingly pumped up by the battle. He made his move. Jian Wushuang's attack was silent as he focused the sword essence and momentum into a single point on his sword and fought back. The strike made no sound and shed no sword light. Upon collision with Wu Ta's booming fist, the impact was earth-shattering. Powerful energy waves swept over the hall and instantly crushed the hall decorations into dust. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang was thrown back 30 meters and crashed into a stone wall, which caused the wall to shake. Wu Ta was barely affected and was thrown back by a single step. Nevertheless, Wu Ta was still shocked. This sentiment was shared by the people surrounding him. He forced Wu Ta one step backward. This swordsman is definitely at the top of Stage 2, even near Stage 3. The sword skill he performed just now was so powerful, there was a huge difference in strength between Stage 3 and Stage 2. Jian Wushuang had managed to force Wu Ta back a step in a head-on confrontation, which meant that he was at the top of Stage 2 and approaching Stage 3. Jian Wushuang was aware that Wu Ta had fallen back because he had been suppressed by the blood river, and had not been able to fully utilize his strength. If Wu Ta had been able to fight unfettered, Jian Wushuang would not have stood a chance against him, even if the first move of heart-killing sword technique was used. I was disadvantaged fighting him even though I had performed Road to the Underworld, Sword Realm, and the first move of heart-killing sword technique. It seems that I have to use the Bridge of Helplessness or the power of Sword Soul to beat him. Both skills were his trump cards. Bridge of Helplessness was powerful, but it required a lot of spiritual power. He would only use it if absolutely necessary. As for Sword Soul, he would show it only when his life was threatened. Divine Land was nothing like Nanyang Continent. In Nanyang Continent, the experts were unfamiliar with Sword Soul Phantom and Sword Soul, so Jin Wushuang could use them. On the other hand, experts in Divine Land were knowledgeable about the two techniques. For example, experts in the highest level of the pinnacle of the Saint Realm, the heaven-defying level, had awakened soul. If Jin Wushuang used the power of Sword Soul, a Sword Soul Phantom had to be produced as well. In such a case, others would recognize his double first-grade Sword Soul at once. This was too ostentatious and would reveal Jin Wushuang's strength. In the hall, Jin Wushuang patted his sleeves and walked forward. Wu Ta was astonished that Jin Wushuang had just brushed off the attack. "Why are you not injured at all after being hit by my fist?" Wu Ta asked. Jin Wushuang had been thrown back by his attack and had smashed into a wall. How could it be that he was not wounded? "Haha, Wu Ta, you might not know that Swordsman is the best among our army at survival. You are not strong enough to kill him," Lei Dao sneered. "Best in survival?" Wu Ta was startled. Jin Wushuang threw Wu Ta a look. Enveloped in a force of gale and thunderbolt, he transformed into a flash of lightning, which entered the blood river and moved rapidly through it. A series of phantoms flashed, but no one could see them clearly. How fast! Wu Ta and his commanders were stunned. Jin Wushuang was so fast. If they had not been suppressed by the blood river, they could have caught up with him. Under the influence of blood river now they could not do anything. Besides, they had learned how strong his body was. In Bluestone Corridor, the black arrow had merely injured Jin Wushuang superficially. Jin Wushuang had also been uninjured after his fight with Wu Ta. With his unusual method of domain, amazing speed, a strong and hardy body, Jin Wushuang's reputation in the Iron Saber Army as the commander with the strongest survival skills was well deserved. Chapter 398. It's all because of this swordsman. Chapter 398. It's all because of this swordsman. Wu Ta despaired when he saw how fast Jin Wushuang moved in the blood river. He understood that Jin Wushuang might not be as strong as he was, but he was definitely exceptional in other fields. It was impossible for him to kill such a formidable opponent. "Quick! Get as many the blood gems and tokens as you can," Wu Ta growled. The silver-winged army experts gave up stopping Lei Dao and his companions. They focused their efforts on collecting the blood gems, but trapped in the blood river, they were overpowered by their opponents and gained only a few gems. It was not long before all the blood gems and tokens were gathered by the experts. The Iron Saber Army and the Silver-Winged Army stood on opposite sides of the hall and regarded each other. The Silver-Winged Army experts looked crestfallen. "How many blood gems did you get?" Wu Ta asked. 6, a white-robed man answered. He was the one that had collected some gems before Jin Wushuang displayed road to the underworld. "I got 1. "So did I. I was lucky. I got 2. 3 more people answered while others remained silent. Wu Ta's face darkened. He had 7 commanders in his army, but they had only obtained 11 blood gems, less than 1/3 of all the gems. As for the 4 tokens, Wu Ta had obtained 1, while the remaining 3 had been seized by General Qing. "It's all because of him. Swordsman. Damn him." Wu Ta and the Silver-Winged Army experts glared at Jin Wushuang spitefully. They hated him. They had outnumbered the Iron Saber Army by 1 and could have won the battle. Instead, they had suffered a great loss because of Jin Wushuang and his skills. To make matters worse, they were powerless against Jin Wushuang. Even Wu Ta himself could only look at Jin Wushuang with desperation. Wu Ta had tried to defeat Jin Wushuang but had failed. It was possible that only the top experts of the nature-defying level or stage 3 stood a chance to kill Jin Wushuang, but Wu Ta had his doubts. In contrast, the commanders of the Iron Saber Army were all beaming with joy. "Haha, what a big harvest! Yes, we have earned much. Thanks to Swordsman. Without his domain skill, we would have lost." Lei Dao and Shiling laughed complacently, and even General Qing was grinning. They had gained most of the gems and 3 tokens out of the 4. This was a much bigger haul than the Silver-Winged Armies. While Jin Wushuang was conversing cheerfully with the commanders, They felt a breeze and a figure appeared. Your Excellency. They bowed respectfully to the newcomer. It was the Iron Saber Lord. The Lord was accompanied by a silver-robed man with an expressionless face. The latter stood in front of the silver-winged army's commanders, revealing his status as the Silver Wing Lord. The Silver Wing Lord had immediately spotted the blood river when he entered the hall. It's a good domain skill. Even I am affected by it. Silver Wing Lord was astonished. He quickly regained his composure. Your Excellency. Wuta bowed to him. How is it going? Silver Wing Lord asked flatly. Not long after we came into this hall, we found dozens of blood gems and 4 tokens that we could use to enter the inner part of this mansion. We fought hard with the Iron Saber army, but, Wuta lowered his voice and continued, but we only obtained 11 gems and 1 token while the Iron Saber army got the rest. What? The Silver Wing Lord's eyes flashed with anger. Your Excellency, we've tried our best to fight them, but that swordsman's domain skill was so tricky. I tried to kill him but failed. He has so many ways to protect himself. Wuta sighed. The Silver Wing Lord turned his attention to Jian Wushuang through the blood river. Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat as he felt his gaze. The blood river began to evaporate. Iron Saber, it looks like you're luckier than me today. Lord of the Silver Wing territory sounded emotionless. Iron Saber Lord smiled in response and he cast his eyes on General Qing. Did you really get 3 tokens? He asked the general. Yes, Your Excellency, the general answered. Well done. Iron Saber Lord smiled and nodded. He gave Jian Wushuang a meaningful glance, then stretched his hand toward General Qing. Give me the tokens and keep the gems for yourself. General Qing immediately handed the tokens to his lord without hesitation. Iron Saber, let's have a talk, Silver Wing Lord said. Okay, why not? But among the tokens I got 3 while you got 1. I have more leverage than you. Iron Saber Lord smirked. Silver Wing Lord's face twitched in irritation and he snorted. You're lucky to have a brilliant follower. That's all. Iron Saber Lord did not react to the remark. He looked at Jian Wushuang and the others. Your business is done here, go back now. Yes, Your Excellency. General Qing and Jian Wushuang nodded and left the cave mansion, smiling. The silver-winged army commanders left as well. In stark contrast with their opponents, they were in low spirits. As the commanders walked through the long bluestone corridor, they didn't run into any danger. After leaving the mansion, the Iron Saber army commanders gathered in the void above Demon Heart Canyon to distribute the blood gems. Chapter 399 Distribution. Chapter 399 Distribution. Take out all the blood gems you have, General Qing said as he took out 5 blood gems. I have several, Lei Dao said laughingly and showed his 4 blood gems with a wave of his hand. I also have some. I'm luckier than you guys. All the commanders produced their blood gems, including Jian Wushuang, who took out 3 gems. He had obtained the least number of gems. This was because he had devoted his attention to controlling the blood river to restrain the silver-winged army experts. The other commanders had a much larger haul than him. The Iron Saber army commanders had seized an astonishing number of blood gems. 31 gems. General Qing laughed. Haha, Lei Dao and other commanders also laughed. They had been outnumbered but they had obtained 31 gems, many more than the silver-winged army's harvest of 20 gems. There's 7 of us and we have a total of 31 blood gems. Each person should get 4 gems. For the 3 remaining gems I'll take 1 and Swordsman takes the last 2. Do you agree with that? Asked General Qing. No problem. Quite fair. Lei Dao, Boozer, and other commanders smiled and nodded their assent. General Qing was a king and stage 3 expert. Of course he would get an additional gem. As for Swordsman, he had contributed most during the battle. Had he not restricted the silver-winged army experts, the Iron Saber army commanders would not have been as successful in retrieving the blood gems. In consideration of this, Jian Wushuang deserved to get more gems. General Qing distributed the 31 blood gems. The commanders were pleased as they received their rewards. The blood gems are extremely valuable in Divine Land. Even the super experts of Cloud Realm covet them. Even if I don't need them, wow, I can sell the 4 gems at a good price. Lei Dao laughed. If you want to sell the blood gems, you can sell them to me. I need them, Jian Wushuang said abruptly. Swordsman, why do you need them? General Qing looked at Jian Wushuang and asked. I have a puppet fighter which is powered by blood gems. It'd be better if I can collect more blood gems, Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. A puppet fighter powered by blood gems? General Qing was surprised. Blood gems possessed vast stores of power, which could be used to refine elixirs, magic weapons, and puppet fighters. General Qing was aware that blood gems could be used to drive some special puppet fighters. Such puppet fighters were of high level and had impressive battle strength. You have a lot of aces up your sleeve. General Qing hid his admiration as he considered Jian Wushuang. Swordsman, if you need them, we can give you some gems, Lei Dao offered generously. No, Jian Wushuang shook his head. If you treat me as a friend, just sell them to me at the market price. All right, there was no hesitation from Lei Dao. How many do you need? We should have enough among us. Jian Wushuang removed treasures of equivalent value from his interspatial ring for exchange with the commanders. Jian Wushuang almost emptied his interspatial ring to get 6 blood gems from Lei Dao and the other commanders. This brought his total haul of blood gems to 12. With the 3 gems he had acquired from the ancestors' land, he had a total of 15 blood gems now. That's enough. Jian Wushuang's eyes shone with anticipation. 1 blood gem was sufficient to power the blood puppet, but it would be stronger in battle if it consumed more blood gems. If he used 10 gems at the same time, he would reach the limit of its power. 15 gems were enough for the blood puppet to show its strongest power once. While the Iron Saber army distributed their blood gems, the Silver-Winged army experts looked on in envy from the void where they stood. However, they could do nothing about it. Let's go. Wu Ta sighed softly and made his way back to the Silver-Winged army barracks with his commanders. Jian Wushuang and the others returned to the rebuilt barracks and waited there quietly. Half a day later had elapsed and it was near dusk when Iron Saber Lord and Silver Wing Lord emerged from the cave mansion. Ha! Iron Saber Lord stood in the void, robes flapping despite the absence of wind. Iron Saber, you got a lot of treasure this time. Silver Wing Lord was green with envy. It's just good luck, Iron Saber Lord beamed. You're also lucky. Though you didn't get the last chance, you got quite a number of treasures too. Not as good as you, Silver Wing Lord curled his lips. I'll go now. Silver Wing Lord departed. Iron Saber Lord's smile widened as he stared at the retreating figure of Silver Wing Lord. He made a slight move and appeared instantaneously in the barracks of Iron Saber Army. Lord Commander. General Qing, Jian Wushuang and others have been waiting there for a long time. You've done a good job this time. The harvest in that cave mansion was plentiful. Here is an interspatial ring. You can divide the treasures in it. The Lord threw them an interspatial ring. Thank you, my lord. General Qing caught the ring and bowed. Swordsman. The Lord looked at Jian Wushuang with his indifferent eyes which seemed to contain everything in heaven and earth. Lord Commander, Jian Wushuang's heart pounded. The Lord gave him a gentle smile. You're very good. After saying this, the Lord disappeared into the void. Haha, Swordsman, even Lord Commander praised you. Lei Dao looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang touched his nose and gave a faint smile. Well, don't make fun of Swordsman. Come on, let's quickly divide treasures, Yao Mei suggested. Yes, let's divide the treasures. Wow, Lord Commander must have gotten a lot of treasures in the cave mansion. He certainly has been generous in rewarding us. With anticipation, they checked the treasures in the interspatial ring and were ecstatic. So many treasures. Haha. Lord Commander is really generous. Swordsman, I regret it now. If I had known that Lord Commander would give us so many rewards, I wouldn't have exchanged the blood gem with you. I should have kept the gems. They may be useful in the future. Don't you still have 3 gems? The commanders continued to distribute the treasures while joking among themselves. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.